If you heat your home, drive a car, or depend on Social Security, what Donald Trump just told NATO allies yesterday will make your blood run cold. On one side, Donald Trump issuing a nuclear-level threat to the entire NATO alliance. On the other side, Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney, not shouting back, not flinching, just standing. Completely, calmly still. And Donald Trump's NATO ultimatum is about to make your groceries, your gas, and your retirement savings significantly more expensive. The post-World War II world order is cracking open. Right now, you are watching history unfold, right now, in real time. Just 48 hours ago, Donald Trump thought he had the ultimate leverage. He told the Financial Times in an explosive exclusive interview that NATO faces a very bad future unless allies immediately send warships to the Strait of Hormuz. Mark Carney did not shout back. Mark Carney did not panic. Mark Carney simply held his position. Let's look at the mountain of receipts breaking right now. Receipt 1. The ultimatum Trump's exact words that shook the world. Receipt 2. The great NATO walkout. Germany, UK, Italy, and Australia all say no. Receipt 3. Canada's ice-cold refusal and what it costs you directly. Receipt 4. The oil shock trigger. About to hit your gas tank. Receipt 5. The $1,200 hole in every American pocket. If you are not subscribed, hit that button right now. You cannot afford to miss what comes next. The first receipt is called the ultimatum. These are Trump's actual words, published by the Financial Times, March 15, 2026. If there's no response, or if it's a negative response, I think it will be very bad for the future of NATO. Let that sink in for 1 second. The President of the United States, threatening the future of a 75-year-old military alliance, because his allies won't follow his orders into a war he launched. Here is what you need to know. Iran effectively shut the Strait of Hormuz after the United States and Israel launched military strikes. About 20% of all the world's oil and liquefied natural gas passes through that narrow channel. 20% shut down. Trump called on every nation to immediately send warships, minesweepers, military assets, to counter Iranian drones and naval mines in the water. He then pointed directly at China. China gets 90% of its oil from the straits. He is bargaining with China while threatening NATO in the same breath. And then came this line. We can hit Karg Island in 5 minutes. There's not a thing they can do about it. That is not diplomacy, that is a man cornered. But the second receipt is where things get truly catastrophic. The second receipt is called the Great NATO Walkout. The United Kingdom, Germany, Spain, Italy, Australia, all said no, not quietly, publicly. Germany ruled out any participation in a Gulf mission. So did Spain. Italy's Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani stood before reporters in Brussels and said directly, I don't think these missions can be expanded to include the Strait of Hormuz. Australia's Transport Minister told national broadcasting, we have not been asked and we are not going. And Britain, the country Trump himself called the #1 United States ally, refused to come until after America had already done the heavy military lifting. Trump told the Financial Times with barely concealed fury, the UK might be considered the #1 ally, and when I asked for them to come, they didn't want to come. The #1 ally said no. France said they would help when circumstances permit, which means never. And Canada currently locked in the worst trade war in North American history. With the United States issued this formal statement, Canada was not consulted, did not participate, and has no plans to participate. Not a maybe, not a perhaps, a full, calm, definitive no, but the third receipt is where things get truly catastrophic. The third receipt is called Canada's ice-cold refusal, and it hits your wallet harder than anything else on this list. Canada is not just refusing the Strait of Hormuz request. Canada is in the middle of the most explosive trade war in North American history right now, and Trump started it. In early 2025, Trump slapped 25% tariffs on nearly everything crossing the Canadian border. Steel and aluminum tariffs climbed to 50%, automobile tariffs hit 25%, and Trump threatened to push dairy tariffs as high as 250%. Canada retaliated, hard 25% tariffs on $30 billion of American goods. Then another $20 billion on top. Ontario imposed a 25% surcharge on electricity exported to Michigan, Minnesota, and New York. But here is what the mainstream media is not telling you. The budget lab at Yale University ran the numbers. Those Trump tariffs are costing the average American household $1,200 a year in lost purchasing power, $1,200 every year out of your pocket right now. And Canada refusing to bend on both trade and military demands simultaneously sends Trump's leverage into a complete death spiral. but you need to understand how this is going to crash into your everyday life. Think about walking into a grocery store right now. Canadian imports feed your table. Fresh produce, dairy, packaged goods, Canadian lumber built your home. Those 25% tariffs do not disappear at the border. They land directly on the price tag in front of you at checkout. Think about your gas prices. The Strait of Hormuz carries 20% of the world's oil supply, with Iran shutting that corridor and not a single NATO ally willing to send ships. Oil traders are already in panic mode. Analysts are projecting gas prices could spike 40 to 60 cents per gallon within 60 days if this crisis does not break. That is your money, every single fill up. Think about your retirement savings and your 401,000. When Trump's tariff war escalated earlier this year, U.S. stock markets lost over $4 trillion in total value. $4 trillion, gone. And every time Trump escalates every new threat, every new walkout, every very bad future headline, the markets shudder all over again. These are not abstract political numbers. This is your money, your future, your retirement on the line. There are 3 possible outcomes from where we stand right now. Each one is more terrifying than the last. Scenario A, the humbling NATO holds and Trump backs down. Here is what triggers it. Enough NATO allies quietly agree to send token naval forces to the Gulf. Trump claims victory on social media. Canada uses the trade negotiations already scheduled to extract limited tariff relief. Carney stays completely stoic. Trump declares a win. Here is what happens to the economy. Markets partially recover. The immediate oil shock stabilizes. Gas prices hold. Your grocery costs stay elevated but stop climbing. Your $401,000 gets a small reprieve, but the $1,200 already taken from your purchasing power this year that does not come back. But there is a scenario, even more terrifying than that. Scenario B, the divorce NATO fractures permanently. Here is what triggers it. Germany and France formalize a separate European defense framework entirely outside Washington's influence. They stop consulting America. Canada accelerates trade ties with China and the European Union. The world splits into competing trading blocs. The dominance of the US dollar begins eroding. Here is what happens to your money. Import prices rise across every category. Everything built with foreign components, your car, your appliances, your electronics costs 15 to 30% more within 2 years. Your fixed income buys less every single month, your retirement savings lose real purchasing power faster than inflation can be measured. But there is a scenario even more terrifying than that. Scenario C, the collapse, the oil shock that breaks America. Here is what triggers it. No NATO ally sends ships. Iran expands its mining of the strait. Trump orders a full strike on Karg Island, Iran's main oil export hub. Global oil markets go into shock. Saudi Arabia suspends exports in protest. Here is what happens. Oil climbs to $200 a barrel. Gas hits $8 a gallon nationally. Your grocery bill doubles within 90 days. Your retirement account drops 30 to 40% in value. Inflation returns to 1970s levels. Americans on fixed incomes have nowhere left to go. Regardless of which scenario plays out, one absolute truth remains. The post-war era of American-led alliances is over. It did not end with a war. It ended because the President of the United States stood before the world and told the most powerful military alliance in human history, "Help me right now or face a very bad future." And ally after ally, country after country, said no. The mainstream media is too afraid to tell you how badly American credibility just fractured on the world stage this week. But we are going to give you the raw and filtered truth. Canada did not shout. Canada did not threaten. Canada simply stood still and watched Trump threaten NATO's existence while simultaneously enforcing 25% tariffs that are costing you $1,200 a year. Prime Minister Carney let Trump's words hang in the air, and the world watched too. The question you need to sit with tonight is this. Is this the global respect you were promised? Is your grocery bill lower? Is your gas cheaper? Is your $401,000 stronger than it was? The era of America first has a price tag, and you are paying it every single day at the grocery store, at the gas pump, in your retirement account. Subscribe right now and hit that notification bell. This story is moving by the hour. You cannot afford to miss the next update, and drop your answer in the comments below. Did Canada just out-strategize Donald Trump by standing completely silent, or did Trump's own NATO allies bring this entire crisis on themselves? I read every single comment, every one. Let's talk about it right now.